Cool. Okay, so thanks for being here, everyone. Today we're going to do, what I think is a cool exercise in learning to see using and draw using geometric shapes. So what I mean by geometric shapes is we'll look at some, different images, but I mean things that are shapes that we know: circles, cylinders, triangles, rectangles, things like that. So we're going to try and think about how to draw using these shapes. So why we would do this is sometimes, everybody thinks in different ways. So we're doing lots of different exercises so that it gives you the opportunity to sort of explore your personal way of thinking about and seeing the world that makes sense to you. So some of these exercises maybe will make no sense to you, or you won't particularly like them, and some of them will sort of really click with you and make a lot of sense. So this is why we're trying, I'm just sort of presenting lots of different ideas and ways of working. It also helps to sort of change the way that you look at and see things. This can be a really good way for putting together drawings quickly. It's sort of like making the pieces of a puzzle fit together. So for some of you, you might really like this approach and way of thinking and seeing and drawing. And for some of you, may not, but I think it can actually be helpful. It can also be helpful for drawing more accurate shapes and proportions, especially when they're, objects that are overlapping or in relationship to each other. So this could be here. We're going to work in still life today because it's sort of the easiest and makes more sense. It's very clear to see the geometric shapes, but really it applies to everything. Animals, the whole world is just made up of shapes. Or that's one way to think about it anyway. So I'm just going to share an image with you, a still life that was set up on purpose with very distinct, specific geometric shapes. And we're going to draw it together. It's already sort of been mapped out, which I did on purpose so that I actually borrowed it from an art teacher. So thank you. So we're going to work first on drawing a still life, and I would recommend drawing in pencil for this. That way we can erase and move our lines. And we're going to do something called drawing through, where we're going to draw even where shapes overlap. And then in the second, we're going to do a second exercise where I've photographed another still life that doesn't have any predetermined shapes, but the shapes are very clear, and we'll draw it on our own after having practiced the first one. So I'm going to share my screen, which means I won't be able to see the chat box. So if at any point you have any questions or want to speak up or comments, just unmute yourself and speak up, please. Do not hesitate. Okay, so here I'm going to share with you. This is a still life that we're going to actually draw from. And it's made up of very clear geometric forms. Let me see. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to first draw. I'm going to put the picture of the still life up, but what we're going to do is draw in this way. So we're going to start to think about objects in a very flat, abstract way, as much as we can. So here, this bottle, right, is on the top, it's a circle, and these are cylinders, right? And then in front of it is an apple, but it's really just, it's like a circle. And here, this box behind is a rectangle. It's a tissue box. And this is a cone or cylinder, right, that has these circles inside of it. So you see how, especially this Pepsi bottle here, it's like two, you can see it as two Like here's a cone, and then here's a cylinder. So you can think about seeing that as one or even two shapes. And then in the third image here, I believe they took away the lines where it was drawn through. So what I would say is we're going to work from the original photograph, but we're going to draw it in this way. So we're going to draw lines all the way through, even when the objects aren't transparent and we can't see. But if you actually draw the whole shape as best as you can, right, you're starting to envision what it looks like. And this really can help with thinking about proportions and putting objects together in a way that makes sense. So we'll leave the lines through. And if we want, then you can go back and erase them later, which is why it's good to work in pencil. Okay. So are there any questions before we start? Easy. Okay, so let's just try this. I'll say we're going to set a timer for, I'm going to say 7 minutes. And if it's not enough time, that's okay. We can either move on or spend a few more minutes drawing. Now, you don't have to draw the whole thing. The point is to start thinking about and seeing and actually drawing and putting together objects as geometrical shapes. So I'm going to show you the photograph of the actual still life, but think about simplifying it into a simple geometric shape. So don't worry about, if there are small undulations of, say the glass bottle is not exactly straight on its sides. That's okay. I would say simplify it as much as possible. Now, you can take just a piece, like a zoom in of the still life, 1 or 2 objects, but definitely draw 2 objects that are overlapping each other. Or you can try and draw the whole thing. It's completely up to you. I would say don't draw too small, right? But don't fill the whole paper either, so it makes it hard. Maybe just half a sheet of paper is a good size. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you. So we're thinking about the simplified geometric shapes of objects. So we're going to work from this still life here. And I'm going to set a timer for 7 minutes. Okay. So why don't we begin? And you can choose to draw the whole thing or just part of it. And let's start.
Kelly, do we do shadows?
No, why not? This time we're just going to focus on the outline of the objects. Okay, so just great. Thinking about them as flat geometrical shapes. That's a great question. Thanks for asking. Okay, just one more minute. Okay, and stop. Okay, so I'd say even if you're not finished, right, this was sort of an exploration of how do you even do this, right? So I'd love to hear from anyone who wants to share. Like, was this challenging? Was it fun? Did you like it? Did it make sense? Did it not make sense?
Kelly, this is Marcia. I'm not going to share what I have because I have a messed up face today. But I love this. So
Okay, great.
seeing what you did to it really made it easier to try. But when we share, you don't have to see me. But I felt like it was so much easier to like see proportions and get some of the lopsidedness kind of out of it right at the beginning.
Right, because if you draw the circles or the ovals all the way through, right, you can see how it will make both sides sort of balanced.
Okay. Right. So yeah, so I love this exercise. Thank you.
Great. Okay, very cool. That's great. Thanks for sharing your drawing, Marcia, as well. Okay, would anyone else like to share?
Kelly, I thought this was a great exercise. I've been trying to understand how to see these shapes. And as Marcia said, your drawing made it much clearer than it has been ever. So thank you. Oh, great. Okay, yes. So, and that's amazing. That's excellent. So we're going to try it again with no any other kind of indications. But if you think about it, really there aren't so many options of shapes, right? Mostly they could be squares, triangle, circle, rectangle, you know, some kind of version of those, right? They can get into, you know, octagonal, hexagonal, whatever, but the cones, conical, spheres, things like that. But mostly they're just cylinders. They're a variation on a theme. And so if you could start to look for the simplified big shape, if you can get that in first, right, then you can go and modify, right, the specific edge, which is not what we're doing today. We're just kind of looking for the big shapes. So now you could even start to think a human head, right, isn't be more circular, right? Our nose is a triangle. Okay, somebody saying it was challenging to ignore the shadows. Yeah, so I think in this next image, there are not, it's not so light and dark. Maybe the shadows won't be as distracting. So we'll try it again. And again, you can choose part of the image or the whole image, but definitely choose at least two objects that are overlapping. Yeah, someone said, would you show me your drawing again? So I did this drawing here. And actually, this is not my drawing. It's from another teacher who so generously put her lessons online. So
what we're doing is thinking about, like, right, this, for example, is a cylinder, but in order to get the shoulders of this bottle, all you have to do is draw a circle, right? And it's not perfect. Mine's lopsided, right? It's goofy, it's wonky. But actually drawing a circle can help you, just like Diane and Marcia said, right? To get the sides to sort of meet up, right? And I actually drew a circle here where the hole was in the tissue box, and I drew the perspective through. And this Pepsi bottle, mine's wonky, but that's okay. It makes it easier to see how you can fix it, right? I thought it's kind of like a cylinder with this cone shape on top. Yeah, so that's okay, Jen. So let me show you again so this still life. Originally, we were thinking about these big shapes. And here we drew the lines all the way through. And then if you want, you can go back and erase them, right? Especially if this is a great way to start a drawing, right? And then you can always go back and erase the lines. Or you know what? You don't even have to. You can actually just darken, the lines where they come forward, right? Or you can erase away the lines that are sort of cutting through the objects that are in front. Okay, so why don't we move on to this next one, and we'll try it on our own. So I purposely put this, we have this really funny, it's really cool, like a turtle tray. So think about, what shape is if you draw this, what shape is the head? What shape are these feet? And then you can't see the back of this tray, but it is an oval, right? And then we have a square and then some other cylinders, round shapes. So why don't we, again, I'll give you 7 minutes, and you can draw part or all of this, and then we'll come back together and see, how it went and what do you think. So why don't we start, and we'll come back together in 7 minutes. Okay, just one more minute. Okay, and stop. Okay, so I'd love to hear. Was that more challenging that you had to come up with the shapes on your own? There were more complicated shapes. Were they easy? If anybody'd like to share.
I can tell you that the relationship between the shapes was my hardest challenge. This is Donna. I'd focus on one and find it was not in relation to the other one in the correct way. I did more erasing than drawing.
Okay, yeah. So this is great because one thing you can do is you can draw really lightly and sort of like sketch. You know, okay. For example, if you're looking for where things overlap, right, and thinking about if I, you know, as if they were transparent, but you could still see their lines, right? You can sort of lightly explore it. I'm gonna, you know, and then that way, sorry, I'm just gonna, if I draw too light, you know, for example, I could draw in a sort of sketchy way, and then, you know, move my lines around, and then when you sort of, you know, you're moving and moving until you find the right place, and then you can either erase, you know, the previous marks, or you can even just go over where the correct place is, more or less, with a dark or heavier line. So it's like use a sort of light searching line, right? Like exploring, sort of searching thing, right? Different way. Oh, my sound is breaking up. Is that any better? Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, just pauses between your words.
Okay. Okay, so just great. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Yeah, Jen said the turtle feet were tricky. Yeah, right. So you can think about them as triangles or rectangles, or they were tricky. Okay, does anyone else want to share?
Hi, this is Pierre.
Hi, Sarah.
So, sorry, I need to see where I am here. Okay, so I found this, for me, and proportion, like how things are next to each other, to me, this is magic, because you focus on a very simple outline and you think about, well, how far is that? And you don't think too much, I don't know. So for me, like these proportions are really good for in my experience of doing this. You know, I don't usually get that correct. I mean, more accurate usually. So I'm happy with this. It's really helpful. It's really helpful.
Yeah, that's great. It's like yeah. So all of a sudden, you're really seeing how things are in relationship to each other. That's
Yeah.
excellent. That's really nice drawing, Pierre. Maybe you should just, you can always, the thing is, you could always draw like this. You know, there's no reason why you can't.
Well,
Right?
what's interesting is that, I think we often like to find the solution, like 3 classes ago, it was like, there are no lines, right? And it's all about shading. And it's true, there are no lines in nature and in real life, and this is like all about like finding where the line is. So I like that it's, we can use all these tools that feel good in the moment or might work in some way or some other, but yeah, it's really helping kind of like, shape things well.
Yeah. Well, being able to see abstract shapes and put them together will really give a dimensionality, right, to your work, like to your drawings, understanding how things really are round or have depth, even though we can't, right? Like I can't see the back of my head, but it's actually there. So if you started to think about the head as, a circle that has volume from every side, it really shows in your drawing. Okay. Oh yeah, and Donna said to you, Pierre, that it's nice that you left the turtle out. It simplified the relationship. Yeah, great. So, and Marcia said, look. Okay, sorry. Marcia said, looking for the shapes forces you to really look and see. Yeah, that's a good point. So sometimes we think we know what things look like, right? And how they actually are. So maybe this is an exercise that for some of you will force you to really think about how things are constructed. It's really a good way to develop your brain, right, of constructing 3D objects on a 2-dimensional surface. Donna said the turtle, an image of the college where I worked. So I was surrounded by turtle sculptures, and you never drew one. Their saying was turtles all the way down. Well, maybe you could take up drawing turtles. I mean, they could be triangles and ovals, right? Suzanne said the question about how to simplify, maybe putting the turtle as the last step might have helped. Yeah, so I mean, the truth is, most things are, a little bit more complicated, right? They're not always straightforward shapes. So you have to kind of use your imagination of how you see shape, right? So the turtle is complicated, and you didn't have to do it, but it's a little bit more, it causes you to have to really stop and think, or maybe even experiment with different approaches, like how, like I experimented with the turtle's head by drawing a cone, and then, cylinder, and then some sort of, I don't know, triangular shape at the end. And then I actually redrew it again, right? Just sort of exploring different ideas about how I could, what kind of shapes are put together in that. And it was a hard perspective as well. Okay, Marcia's got to go. Ciao. So does anybody else want to share insights, comments, share your drawing, ask any questions? Oh, great, Joanne. Yeah, let me unmute you, Joanne, just 1 second. Okay, great. Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
So that's I was having problems with those little legs.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it. This is really great. Right? It has so much, it's alive. Like it has 3-dimensionality.
It looks like a duck. It's my turtle duck.
Right. Is it easy for you to think about drawing this way, or is it challenging?
It was well, that I was afraid of that turtle head and those legs. No, it was easy. Stop video. It was easy to do like the cube and the stuff. I mean, not to get like the perfect proportions, but yeah, the turtle was a real challenge. It was really fun. It was really fun to think of it like, oh yeah, that's a circle and that's a cone, and how do these feet work? And you know, I didn't think about the triangle because you said a triangle. I was like, okay. Anyway, it was. I took a drawing class, a life drawing class, and our teacher made us make the entire body in boxes. So it was all these boxes, you know, those boxums, you know. And so anyway, this was fun.
Yeah, great. Yeah, well, and that's a cool point. I mean, the point of, you know what, like being curious and challenging yourself. I mean, like, you know, I don't know how, whatever. Sometimes you know how something works, so you just explore, you know, trying it out. Maybe it comes out really bad, or maybe it's kind of cool, right? A neat way of approaching and experimenting. Hey, your drawing was really great. Wait, so somebody said, okay, Michael said, for me, the turtle oval was my base and starting point. Yeah, so that's a great way, right? Like to think about, okay, this is the base, and then you're going to build up from it. Right, so that made sense to you. That's nice because then you can see how the objects fit on the base, I'm guessing. Wow. Do you draw like this a lot? That's really nice. Yeah, so you thought about the feet as circles.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah, I saw them as ovals.
Great. And it looks like you fit them together quite well. Yeah.
Did.
I like this method.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So it made sense to you.
Can we see that drawing again?
Yes. Karen, please share your drawing again.
Nice job, Karen. Looks great.
Looks so
Thank
easy.
you all.
Yeah, nice. It's just like Joanna's. It seems like it's easy for you to envision, right? The objects in a three-dimensional way.
Well, it definitely helped to see the relationships. Yes, for me.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Okay, somebody, Mary asked, can you discuss the proportion between the bottle and the turtle? Mine seems so tall, but I tried to use the measurement technique you taught earlier. Yeah, the proportion between the bottle and the turtle. Yeah, measuring is a great way. I mean, also when, yeah, so you can measure the height of the base that it was sitting on, if you could see the height, or you can kind of understand the height, and how many times that goes into the bottle. And then when you start to draw the other objects, right, there was a shorter cylinder and then a taller cylinder, and you can start to see where do those line up on the bottle. So I'll show you, I'll just use the cursor, right? So, right, you can measure, you know, this height. It's a little distorted probably because it's a photograph from an iPhone. So I noticed that my photographs from the phone are really distorted, especially in the foreground. So it's like these things that are closer to you are distorted in the sense that they're disproportionately larger. So some of it might be that as well. But you could take this measurement and measure how many times does that go into this bottle. Maybe it's about 3, I'm guessing. Maybe it's even slightly more. And then when you get that sort of marked in, right, it doesn't have to be a definitive, you're sort of searching, right, you get it sort of blocked in lightly even, you can look and see, you know, where is the top of this in relation to the bottom? You see how the bottom is lower. You know, the bottom of this cup starts here on the bottle, and it's here. Where is the bottom of this, right? And where is the top, wherever, right? And then start to look and compare these three. So, I mean, how many times, then you can also check by how many times does the height of this cup, this cylinder thing here, go into this bottle, right? Maybe it's also, I don't know, 3 or just a little bit more. Does that answer your question, Mary?
It does. Yeah. And then, you know what, I think I was getting put on, I was measuring based upon the perspective that the turtle base had, as opposed to what you said, do it at the height of things. So that did answer my question. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, great. Yeah, so try like the height of it and compare those heights. And then you can compare also the objects, the other objects to each other by measuring as well, or even by eyesight sometimes. Donna says to Joanne, you did a good job on the turtle. Mine looks a little frightening. Okay. And Teresa says, for me, the turtle was circles all the way down. That's really cool that you saw the whole thing as circles. Kind of like Karen, she'd also drawn circles, you know, for sheep as well. And I tried so many shapes. Great. Yes. Excellent. Curiosity wants to see some of the turtle drawings. And Mimi says, my turtle has 2 circles and the cheese block. Great. Yeah, so the turtle was challenging, which is great because in real life, you know, there are objects that have kind of weird shapes, including, you know, think about human bodies like ears, right? What shape with a little thing on the end, right? So this is a way to sort of start thinking about simplifying what you see into shapes that can fit together, right? And when we can draw the whole shape, it can really help to see not only proportions, but also the shapes and how they relate to each other. Okay.